I think the music is a little tonally wrong. I think
Inappropriate.
It's a little inappropriate. Like, are we at like a? Is this Grand Theft Auto?
This is how Logan Paul is going to cover the fires in his neighborhood.
This is the vaporwave LA fires experience.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The worst culture of like Twitch vaporwave.
A guy on a skateboard is about to just like kind of cruise through with, ocean fresh cran apple.
Okay.
Plastic
All right. Then
jug.
I'm going to be the voice of reason on the podcast then. Okay. I'm going to say, how dare you guys? This is a very dark time for Los Angeles. I am here. It's your host, Griffin. I'm joined, of course, by my co-hosts, Zach and Gavin. Welcome back to Circle Jerk. I've been covering the fires. I've been fighting the fires in one of the most powerful ways, podcasting. I'm curious, what's your guys' take? Is this good, bad?
It's very good, actually. We
Very
love
good.
fire. It actually, many people have located the origin of this fire. I saw a lot of false reports going around, a lot of fake news.
Yes.
The only arson that occurred was the shoddy fire burning on the dance floor, and we accidentally visited Los Angeles during drought season.
You guys did a
we were
little
cutting
camping.
a rug in the Palisades, and you know what? Spark.
It's fucking crazy.
Met the
I looked
flame.
it up today, and it's like we're 15. We got 15% of it done, and it's like that doesn't seem like a lot. And
The firefighting?
of the fires, like 15% containment. It's like been like 4 or 5 days. I mean, this was as of like last night when I looked. It could be a little bit better today, but it has gotten all the conspiracy people going. It has gotten a lot of talk about it.
Wokeness started the fire.
Well, let's talk about that. Yes, the number one culprit of it doesn't matter who lit the first match. Ultimately, people decided that DEI is what started the fire. The DEI fires. I've got this here from. This is a tweet right here. It's kind of emblematic of the general conservative reaction online from John Lefebvre, which is I guess it's like a French. This is like John Favreau, I guess, for the right. I don't know who he is.
I like
he
how
says,
right-wingers will totally get down with you, even if you have the most French, foreign-sounding name, as long as you are, in fact, a white guy. As long as you're a convincing white guy, more points if you're bald. That's relatable. But anyway,
Yeah.
John
Pepe
Lefebvre.
Le Pew. Pepe
Yeah,
Le
he's
Pew is
lucky
MAGA.
this isn't post 9/11 MAGA. You know what I mean?
If you live in, Pepe Le Pew says, if you live in Pacific Palisades, you paid your dues. Doctors, lawyers, agents, entrepreneurs, etc. You believed in the American dream. You paid your dues. All right, you said that before. You gotta cut this. You gotta have an editor look at this. You paid your taxes. You trusted the system. Then you adopted luxury beliefs like affirmative action and DEI and climate change, TM, and science, TM, and they fucked you. It's
fucked
time to wake up. And I think, that's a
How do
powerful
you trademark science?
He's
Big
like,
science.
dude, some guy was like, holy shit, no one trademarked this? I'm going to hop on this. How did they leave that on the table?
It's kind of reminiscent of the conversations you hear a lot on the right recently as it relates to like pharmaceuticals. They had that conversation on the Joe Rogan Experience with Mel Gibson where they're talking about how actually if you drink like fabric dye, it's the real cure for cancer. And the implication is obviously the establishment is lying to us in that sense. And I think that it basically just now is everything, right? You know what I'm saying? Like even when
the government
it comes
is hiding
to
the Tide detergent from us to keep us unwell.
That's what would actually put
Tide
these
Pod.
fires out.
They're going back to Tide Pods. They are turning into the woke, into the snowflakes. I completely agree. And the DEI stuff in particular, they found a lot of videos of like butch firefighters, like lesbian firefighters. The LAFD chief is a very butch lesbian, and they're like, see, like this is why, like if only there was a cis white male out there on the front lines, this would be all taken care of. And for me, I'm like, this is clearly there wasn't enough butch lesbians. I think we need way more because they would have stamped this out if we'd given them all money, all control of the city, all budgets. Like they should be in charge of everything, I think.
Well, here's what you're not understanding is that if we'd given a little bit more money to the police and a little bit more money to the security mechanisms, I don't think we would have been in this mess in the first place because we would have had a nice, clean Hollywood. We would have had a nice, clean Los Angeles.
Well, to that point, like with the current budgets, people were like, oh, they were cutting money, or there wasn't enough money, blah blah blah. Like all of a sudden we want to fund the city, but like we did give all the money to the cops. Like they got everything they wanted, but like these fucking lesbian firefighters, we need like 10,000 more of them. Like these types of women. I'm not talking about like just gay, any type of lesbian, not your Starbucks barista lesbian. Like these are incredible butch lesbian women that run any job like it's the Navy, like it's the fucking Navy. And there clearly wasn't enough of them running the show here because things would have been a lot different. Like if the Capitol Police on January 6th and only butch lesbians, no one would have made it through the fucking front door. They would have killed Ashley Babbitt with their bare fucking hands. This is just what people are missing. So I think they're turning the dial the wrong way on DEI, but like the climate change TM thing he says here. Like I thought we were maybe going to get to a point where the conservatives go, actually, we went from saying climate change exists to actually fuck you pussy, whatever, it exists, get over it, it's too late, move on.
I also thought there was going to be a reckoning in the near future with climate change, not only obviously with normies, but straight up right wingers. It seems like it's gotten to the point where it is going to get fairly undeniable, but no, a lot of people want to blame anything but climate change. What I will say is, like, apparently there have been fires like this for fucking years and years. Like I was looking at photos of these LA fires from the 1940s where essentially the same shit happened. Like the entire Palisade neighborhoods were burned to the ground. Like it's not the first time this has happened, but I definitely think in conjunction with all the other extreme weather events we've seen around the country, even like the hurricanes from a couple months ago, it definitely seems like it's increased levels of insanity that, you think would like wake people up.
Well, I was listening on my computer my radio. They told me it was the weather machine. Same folks that's killing all them babies where Jesus is from.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the weather machine, Zach, because there have been some other theories. Now, there's been a lot of videos of people being like, what's that in the sky? Like they kind of moved the New Jersey drone thing over to the LA fires. People are like, people are passing around this one video of this like kind of octopusy looking thing in the sky that kind of reminded me of Mad Max Furiosa. If you've seen Furiosa, like the 100%. Octopus kite kind of looked like the octopus kite a little bit.
So people think that the fires were intentionally started?
Well, there's a lot of that, but in particular, there's a lot of alien like UFO in the sky stuff. People are like, what's that darting around the sky or whatever? And it's probably like people trying to put out the fires. It's just my like guess.
I would guess that they have some sort of technology that's like a drone that sprays fire retardant on
China has those. I saw a video of China, and they have these actually sick ass drones that are connected to tubes, and they like come out of the fire truck with like a tube, like long ass tube, and they like shoot like fire extinguisher liquid and shit.
The Chinese have figured out drones. Have you seen those firework displays that they do with like 90% drones, and it looks crazier and far more impressive? Like I love fireworks. I'm not saying America needs to like move beyond them. I think it's a classic part of our, whatever the fuck, but China has figured that shit out, and that must extend to other technologies outside of, Independence Day.
It'd be really funny if they didn't use it for the military, and we're like, we never even thought of that. We just love fireworks. But no, I saw this one that was like, they're doing a great thing in China now where they're combining drones and fireworks.
Yep.
So the drones like shoot like laser beams out of the skull, and then real fireworks appear. It's a nice multimedia. Yeah, you saw that.
And the Chinese invented fireworks, so it's it makes sense that it's like the next evolution to come from there.
It is actually co-opting a different culture to be doing that on 4th of July, which is why I shake my head and I
we're
wag my
commie
finger.
worshippers. That's why we love to light fireworks on the 4th of July at the Casa del Vanguard.
But there's another theory, guys, and I don't know if this one crossed your desk. Anyone else besides me find it strange that the woman who played Topanga was featured on WWE Raw in LA and the wildfire started in the Topanga Canyon the next day? She is also doing a hand gesture similar to Mahuika, the fire goddess. Coincidence?
Okay, let's give a little bit of Topanga backstory. And also let's inquire a little deeper. Let's go to the second image, Griffin. Could we fire that back up, everybody?
Yeah, I'll bring
now,
it back up.
Let's reminisce. Let's take an old walk down memory lane. I do believe her husband was featured in a national news cycle a few years ago. For what, guys? He said a shrimp tail was in his cereal box. Do you guys remember this thing?
It was
he
the
totally
first Omen.
fabricated it. He made a joke about it. There were real news segments. We won't say from who.
It was a simpler time. If you were under the age of 25, you might not even be aware of this, but it was a simpler time where TV writers ruled the web, and these were the controversies that mattered to people. And
anyway,
that's the husband of the chick who did the fire dance.
Husband of the fire goddess. Yeah.
Because the way that everybody identified him for that story when he was trying to go viral on Twitter for saying a shrimp tail was in his favorite cereal.
He didn't try. He succeeded.
Well, he did, right? But when he was doing that, a way he facilitated was, oh, this is the husband of Topanga from Boy Meets World.
I didn't even know. I've not seen Boy Meets World, so I was like, that's part of the reason why I was like,
not a real '90s kid.
Less
Gavin.
invested in the whole shrimp cocktail thing. But
I'll say Vivek was right. Vivek said no more Boy Meets World, and guess what? The conservatives right again. Trump said too many leaves in the forest, and Vivek said too much Boy Meets World, and we're seeing how California has shunned both those ideas.
It's pretty idiotic though that these conspiracy theories are. I mean, obviously it's idiotic for the obvious reasons, but I remember hearing like a week before the fires started that there was going to be insane winds in the LA area. Like I remember hearing like there was an alert sent out and that there was like an advisory and like these winds were going to be crazy. And anyone that knows anything about fucking forest fires is that like the worst thing, as far as preventing them is the fucking wind. So yeah, obviously it's not that hard to happen. It's not like you need to reach for some crazy out there theory when it seems like specifically in this area it's downright predictable.
Yeah, Griffin, will you weigh in on the Twitter discourse from the last 3 days? You're a guy that has a little bit more skin in the game. Obviously, I've been paying a decent amount of attention. Salisa's been paying tons of attention. Her
I
parents
lost
are
all 5 of my homes.
All 5 of your homes, yeah. But
and my rental properties.
A lot of people have been having a niche internet debate among the left, which is what we do in trying times. And people say, the budget was cut by millions of dollars. The budget for the fire department.
That's not a leftist conversation. That's everyone is saying up and down numbers and numbers.
Exactly. Let's get your take, Griffin. When you read that, right, we pulled up a document from December that illustrated a $7 million reduction in firefighting, but a lot of people will also say, they spent that money on replacing equipment that they don't have to replace every year. So see, if you move the math around, it's not really a reduction. They just had less money this year than last year. And anybody with a brain is like, yeah, well, that's a problem because they needed way more fucking money than that. So why are you shortchanging them just because they had to buy more equipment, right? What is your analysis of that situation? Do you think it's important to highlight the fact that because of a niche budgetary maneuver?
I will give my serious economic take on this podcast called Circle Jerk America. I have made my case clear. There should be no cops. It should be only firefighters. They should be only butch lesbians. And they should get anything they want. They should rule like tyrants. We should hide from them when they come down the street, but we're grateful for them at the same time. Much like the fire goddess. With the money, you could give like $500 million and it would not stop what happened last week, which is a larger baked in the cake thing of global fucking warming. And that's the thing that kind of people aren't really accepting. It's like you could have given them a way bigger check, but this shit is now baked into the cake and people need to start coming to terms with that. And it's not going to be one city fucking budget that's going to stop 100-mile-per-hour fire tornado winds. So yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of my take too. Obviously, I think the fire department should get all the money in the world, at least all that they're asking for, which apparently they're not receiving. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like saying, oh, the flood and the hurricanes happened, Hurricane Milton happened because there wasn't enough like hurricane fighters. Like, no, that shit was gonna happen. Like, that shit was a force of fucking nature.
And the Florida one would have been a disaster, but they just got lucky. It just went a little left or a little right, like the Trump bullet. Like the same shit would have happened. Like, there was not like some amazing conservative prevention plan from the hurricane.
Yeah, and also, like, we have to keep in mind, and not to like, justify this or whatever, but it is something that took place in one of the most wealthy areas in the entire fucking country. So if any community was going to have like the proper resources, preparedness, it probably would have been that community. You know what I'm saying? Like, usually given the tax bracket.
It also hit Altadena, which is actually this weird eastern area of LA that has like got a lot of like fucking film crew people who bought a house 8 years ago off like a film editor or like a gaffer's salary and stuff like that. So like it was like fucking 3 or 4 fires going at once. It still is 3 or 4 fucking fires going at once.
Speaking of Hollywood, the only people we can really count on in these trying times, I want to hear from the true.
That's important. We got to get
genius,
to that. The people
the
that
man
were really hurt.
who has all the answers. He's making the rounds. He's saying, "Let me, like my Father Christ, go around and heal you. Let me tell you how to heal yourself." Right? Of course.
I thought you were doing
about
James Woods. Okay, go for Mel Gibson. Sure.
First, we've got Mel Gibson because you know what? In trying times like this, Griffin, we need Hollywood and we need open hearts to Jesus.
We need God. Yeah.
Let's hear from who better to carry the flag of Christianity? Who better to embody the teachings of Jesus Christ than Mel Gibson? Let's hear his theory on why the LA fires are going worse than we expected.
He's looking incredibly red in a perfect way.
He's been spending a lot of time in Panama, Griffin.
There's already talk, and we played a couple
Take
of
the canal.
sound reimagining the way rebuilding occurs, and obviously there's a great need for high density housing.
Bro looks like he has cataracts. Look at his eyes when he opens them.
In California and across the country. That's a big push by the climate folks, and you're already hearing rumblings of that. In this case, like, goodbye single family homes, hello high density housing.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's it's pretty scary, and it'll take decades to do that too. It's like even if if it's a good idea, which I don't know if it is, but reminds me of the old cattle barons clearing people off the land, But
the Navajo.
I don't know. I can make all kinds of horrible theories up in my head, conspiracy theories and everything else.
Make them up.
Yeah.
It just seemed
This is the platform.
that there was no water, and and that the wind conditions were right, and that there are people ready and willing and able to start fires. And are they commissioned to do so? Or...
All right, so we've got a lot of information going on right here.
Five theories.
Couple things we know about California, right? Droughts, poor water management. Also, billionaire couple owns bulk of the water, which seems crazy. Seems very Chinatown coded anyway. We've got that going on. We also know wind, high, and also people have the ability to start fires. Sounds like a conspiracy to me.
Yep.
Or are they just acting on their own volition? I don't know. But they seem pretty well equipped, some of these people that they're catching.
A lot of
Also, was this recorded before or after Mel Gibson's own house was burnt down?
So I think this one was after. The Joe Rogan Experience was what he was recording when he found out his own home had burned down.
Okay, because I saw another epic quote from him where he was like, I am no longer tethered by my mortal possessions. Like, he's going full Jesus now because he lost all his shit in the fire. He's like, I guess I really am the Christ. Jesus also, said to leave all your possessions behind.
His house actually survived, but then he heard black guys were looting it, so he burnt it down. Palisades, rich area. There was a lot of poor people, a lot of personal friends of mine who even lost their houses, who aren't super rich or whatever. But we do have to keep our eyes, most importantly, on the celebrities. The celebrities are the ones most in pain and will have to shoulder the most burden. Gibson went off. Did you guys see that James Woods cried on TV about losing his house, and then like a few hours later finds out his house was fine?
Yeah, he was like, it was a miracle. It was a miracle from God.
That's really good TV.
That's what happens if you pray hard enough, America.
And then we also have, I don't know if one of you guys can pull it up, but I put it in the chat, Jamie Lee Curtis addressing the situation.
Oh,
this was
here.
In the Twitter chat.
Yeah,
because this was also pretty funny, given the fact that her house, I'm not sure if it has burned down, but I think at the time that this clip recorded, it had not. But either way.
Los Angeles is on fire everywhere. Everywhere. The entire city of the Pacific Palisades is gone, you guys. I mean, literally my neighborhood, gone. My house tonight is still there. But I live in a different canyon.
It's all gone, except my house.
It reminds me of when she tweeted that, imagine being a child and watching bombs rain from the sky. And then she found out it was a Palestinian kid, so she just fucking deleted it.
Yeah, you jumped ahead. We were going to get to the Gaza part in a second. You're pre-watching this stuff too much, Zach. You got to live in the moment,
guys. I just have a third eye.
She literally was about to talk about Gaza. You fucked this whole segment up. Here we go.
Well, I'm sorry to the 15 people that are going to watch this.
Unfortunately, Gaza or one of these war-torn countries where awful things have happened. So, and there are fires now breaking out everywhere. So, it feels totally bizarre to be talking about a movie, and yet. It's a piece of art. Art will save us.
Yes, art will save us. Maybe not Gaza, but it'll save the people in this screening room. The agents and managers here will be saved. Don't worry. It was a little. It's a little fucking upsetting to see all these celebrities and people who haven't talked about Gaza for a year be like, damn, my house looks like Gaza. It's just like, oh, so you have been seeing that stuff.
Yeah. Definitely wild. My only other question for you guys is it does feel like this could be a really bad thing for the industry, Hollywood itself. They've been dealt quite a few blows in the last couple of years with the strikes, with the AI.
Yeah.
It does kind of feel like almost on a spiritual level, this is metaphorical. It almost feels like this is representative of something larger, which is depressing to say. And I hope the industry bounces back, but it's not exactly in a good place already.
I was in LA in December, and it was one of the most depressing places I'd been in a long time. It felt spiritually sick and dead in a way. And it's always been spiritually sick, but it used to be in a fun, rabies kind of way. And now it's in sort of like a stage 4 cancer patient kind of way. And I keep going in my head is either LA is done or it's so back. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's thinking about it. People bond together as Americans in crises and
like a 9/11 sort of thing.
It could be. This is maybe not on a death toll, but on a destruction level, of an impact to a city. It's hard to not consider it a little bit of stolen valor 9/11. If only we could pin it to some Muslims. Maybe we could find some passports in the fire.
Oh, they're trying hard.
They're trying so hard. The one guy is airdropping just passports of Muslims in all across the Palisades.
The one thing that's going to survive is the ISIS flag over the embers of a burnt down Palisade home.
One of those copies of Mein Kampf that they find in Palestinian, bombings.
They're dropping Palestinian calendars that have Hitler in different positions for January, February, March, April.
It is interesting though. I hope you're right, Griffin, that it does sort of inspire some sort of a comeback.
That's kind of what everyone thinks option A, it's so over. I'm thinking a little more option C, it's so back. Celebrities who have lost their homes, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Oh, Milo Ventimiglia from Heroes. Heroes was a great show. He didn't deserve that. This is a good guy.
Griffin, you're showing your age here.
Mel Gibson.
Mel Gibson.
You haven't watched anything now, before, or in the past. And And Heroes is like what, like 10 years ago? Like that's crazy.
I don't watch anything that my
Imagine-
grandma would also be caught watching. You know, I don't heat up a TV dinner.
Oh my
You know,
God.
sit down at 5 o'clock, turn on ABC. You know, watch Ugly Betty, and then whatever comes on next. So no, I haven't actually been exposed to that. You know, that creative contribution to planet Earth.
This is crazy. You're like, oh, Back to the Future was some 80s movie?
That's
Barbara
cinema.
Cochran.
You're the one that's gonna bring up Dancing with the Stars guests nobody's heard of. Okay.
Harvey Guillen? I don't know who that
Who
is.
the fuck is that?
Yeah, we're
Who the
starting
hell
to
is
get to
that?
C-list. We're
See, now
DC
we're-
and D-listers. Oh, Ari Emanuel, that's an A-lister. That's a pretty evil guy. Pretty, he loves Israel. That's the guy that, from Entourage that Jeremy Piven is based on. Jeremy
Speaking of
Piven.
old ass shows, Entourage.
Yeah, I mean, Entourage, I'll give you that. Entourage is more dated than Heroes. Molly Baz, don't know who that is. Leanne Ford.
Did anyone
Okay.
important lose their fucking home? Who's
John C. Riley, here we go.
Oh,
Poor
John C.
bastard.
Reilly.
Somebody I actually care about.
Oh, don't see right. Okay, great.
Griffin's like, let's not talk about anybody that's been relevant in the last 15 years. We don't want to talk about the guy that
What is
expertly
the
portrayed.
last movie John C. Riley's been in? So you guys have only watched
Okay,
like,
Mr.
Anchorman.
California, you didn't watch him when he played the owner of the Lakers in the much
Oh,
beloved
God, that-
Cut Too Short.
Is that the Adam McKay thing that sucked
the Adam-
or whatever?
It wasn't
Dude, Adam
terrible.
McKay's kind of crazy these days. What's up with
Adam
Adam
McKay
McKay?
is crazy, but you know
Wait,
what? Sometimes I
Wait,
like crazy.
James Woods, that's bullshit. Wait, no, community note. Yes, thank you. Oh my God. Oh, Mandy Moore. Do you know who Mandy Moore is? Fuck you. Fuck you.
I've seen
Oh,
the
It's
Princess
Always
Diaries. I
Sunny.
had an older sister.
It's Always Sunny. That show's been on for like 15 seasons, Griffin. Fuck you. This is a good list. I mean, it's a sad list, but it's a decent list. If you had all these Colby Smulders,
I think John Goodman also lost his home. I saw that.
damn, Eugene Levy. Oh my God.
Ooh.
Here's some people. Anthony
Hopkins. There we go. That's a legend right there. You know,
That's a
Imagine being-
fucking legend.
Imagine being that fucking old too. And this
John
shit
Goodman
happens
lost
to you.
his home. That sucks.
I just said that.
Damn.
Yeah.
This is, wow. Adam Bro. Okay. John Goodman. No. Okay. So let's just say the celebrities we're thinking about them
Duff
in
Goldman.
this time.
Yeah.
Isn't that like Ace of Cakes guy? I was like, what the fuck? Now that's a relevant celebrity.
That's a guy I can tell you a lot about, actually. He was a
gotta get him
graffiti
on the
artist,
show.
and then he started Charm City Cakes, man. Oh, and then the Food Network came knocking because of his irreverent behavior and his unruly approach to baking.
I want to get into a few other stories, but I do want to end the fires on this, which is what's the solution forward? People are already thinking about the Olympics coming to LA in just a few years, and if LA can even handle it. So we have our friend of the show, Jesse Waters, here with a plan.
This is biblical level destruction. And the city of LA is hosting the Olympics in 4 years. There's no way we can showcase LA to the world. A full federal takeover is needed. Invoke the Stafford. The state's overwhelmed. Martial law might have to be declared.
The Stafford
That's
Act, you're
right.
going to make Matt Stafford the governor of California. That's the only way. Sorry, you're not going to enjoy the Rams postseason. You're going to be tapped to lead a brigade of firefighters in reconstruction. You're not just an athlete. You're a representative of our nation. Get it done, Matthew.
Yep, that's the only way to save it. And I guess we're going to take California over, and for the Olympics, or we could just cancel the Olympics. I guess those are the two options.
Oh, we got option 3. Don't forget option C, Griffin. You were a C man when it comes to Los Angeles. I'm a C man. Gavin and I've got the K, he's got the C. We're already hosting a little bit of the World Cup action here. I think we do a little bit of a salute to our own greatness in sporting. We talk about how often we hoist the Lombardi Trophy here in this neck of the woods, and we say, you know what? Let's give it back to the real working Americans, to the people of
Lombardi,
Kansas
that's
City.
the guy that harassed Blake Lively, right?
Oh, no, you're thinking of Robert Kraft. No, I'm kidding. I don't know who you're talking about, actually.
Oh, the Blake Lively thing. I don't want to get into it. You mentioned Mel Gibson earlier, Zach. I want you to kind of take point on this one. Mel Gibson has cured cancer. Is that what happened on Joe Rogan? What happened?
A miracle drug. Gavin, you want to take this one?
Oh yeah, do we have the video?
Yeah, here, I'll pull it up.
Yeah. Wow. So this is pretty big because even in times of despair, there are innovations, there are miracles. there are miracles among us that happen every day. We mentioned earlier about, I guess, like it's a fabric thing. He says to drink the laundry. What's going on?
Yeah, it starts off with the ivermectin. That's the first thing that Joe Rogan says, and then another drug I've never heard of, and then they start talking about fabric dye. So let's let this speak for itself.
These guys know about drugs in a way that I know about like video games or like World of Warcraft.
Right.
Like they like it'd be so, what a life, so boring to just know about drugs. That get a different hobby.
Yeah, a good story.
Okay.
I have 3 friends. All 3 of them had stage 4 cancer. All 3 of them don't have cancer right now at all. And they had some serious stuff going on.
And what did they take?
Jesus. They took some, what you've heard they've taken.
Ivermectin.
This is
Fenbendazole. Yeah.
That's
I'm hearing that a lot.
They drank hydrochloride.
They drank hydrochloride.
Is he talking about? I remember hydroxychloroquine being a thing. I don't even know what the fuck hydrochloride is. That sounds like some shit you clean your toilet with.
Well, so, yeah, what's crazy about hydroxychloroquine is that it's traced back to quinine, which they would use to treat malaria. But most people have gotten exposed to quinine because it's a primary ingredient in tonic water. So if a bar's making their own tonic, they'll make it with quinine and then carbonate it. Anyway, it's not going to cure you.
Is that the same shit as what he's talking about?
No, it's completely different. But that's what people were talking about more in the early days of COVID.
That's why I lick out the tonic bottles before I throw them away. You do too, right, Zach?
Yep, a fever tree collection like you would not believe.
And before we play again, can I just comment on his physicality here? It is so. I mean, it is very cokey. Blokey here. Like if he came up to me on the street, I'd be like, sorry man, like this is my last cigarette, like I don't have another one, he seems very deranged. He seems like
even Joe seems a little bit put off by it. Am I wrong? Like he kind of seems like, all right bro, you're tweaking. Yeah.
Joe was not coming in for a tweak episode, and he's realizing it's a tweak episode.
He's so dumb for that though. He already had Mel Gibson on the show a few years back, and they brought this doctor that was going to talk a bunch about stem cell injections that you can only get in Panama, if you guys remember that. And I shit you not, the entire time they're having this conversation, Mel Gibson is going like this with a pen. And I'm like, obviously this guy is on amphetamine salts. My guess, because of the lifestyle that he leads and how he's really jacked and he's really into medication, he calls them diet pills to himself, kind of like Donald Trump does. But there's no way this guy isn't taking a bunch of just pressed amphetamine salt tablets and like telling himself it's like Adderall or diet pills.
Hell yeah, I love that for him.
Something or other.
There's studies on that now where people have proven that they've
thinking methylene blue and stuff.
Yeah, methylene
Joe is
blue,
scared.
which was a fabric dye. Yeah, it was a textile.
It's almost
dye.
like he's calling him out. He's like, "Oh yeah, you mean that fabric dye?"
Except Joe's so dumb, he follows it up with this.
Now they find out it has profound effects on your mitochondria.
Yep.
Yeah.
This stuff works, man.
This stuff works.
There's a lot of stuff that does work.
Okay,
which is very
it's like
strange.
if that's true, then can someone like put out a fucking manual, like a pamphlet that's like, all right, this is this drug and it works for this. The fabric dye works for this. This works for that.
This is the pamphlet.
Doesn't this kind of
clip?
Doesn't this seem like dangerous? Like they're just acting like it's a cure-all, essentially. Like, oh, if you have cancer, just drink some fabric dye or something. It's like, can you actually back this shit up a little bit? Like, what are you actually saying here? Because you're saying it with a lot of confidence.
Well, have you guys paid attention to the Blueprint guy, the guy that's like doing all the don't die stuff on YouTube? And he recently got a Netflix documentary where he was...
Wait, which one?
He's like a crazy rich guy, and he's obsessed with reverse aging. I think his name's like Brian Johnson.
Yeah,
or something
Brian
like that.
Johnson, of course, my dog. We got to get him on the show.
That guy's insane.
Yeah, and
he's
I was
awesome.
watching the documentary about him on Netflix, and one of the critical things about him, they interviewed a bunch of doctors, and they were like, what do you think about this guy? And he was like, well, he's really well known in the anti-aging community, which is where I've spent my entire life, except when any of the doctors reach out to him about funding blind studies to actually dive in and do real science about any of the things he's advertising and doing a clinical double-blind
you can't
study.
give the secrets away.
He won't do it. He refuses to finance any of it, and the guys are just like, yeah, this isn't science. This is just like him trying to...
Is Coca-Cola going to give away the Coca-Cola formula? No. it's
Well,
his.
wasn't his
It's
wasn't
his
his whole
secret.
thing? Wasn't it like injecting plasma at like far greater rate? It was like plasma
human
replacement.
growth hormone was what I saw him injecting.
I thought there was
He's-
some shit where it was like he was like doing like plasma replacement or something.
I
It
wouldn't
was
be
like,
surprised.
It was
He's
like
doing a
way
lot of
more
stuff.
than you're recommended. Just injecting a bunch of plasma. But who knows? I'm sure he's on a bunch of crazy stuff.
He's moisturizing. He's using retinol. But I also think that he, outside of the plasma, he might have experimented with a little bit of the teal blood boy stuff. I think as well. I'm just alleging here.
Strange, because again, it's profit. When you hear about things that are demonized and that turn out to be effective, you always wonder, well, what is going on here? How is our medical institutions, how have they failed us so that things that do cure you are not promoted because they're not profitable?
Wow, that's so deep, Joe. You should support Medicare for all and nationalizing the health industry so that we could remove the profit motive from medicine. Wouldn't that be great?
Bernie.
He should have Mr. Beast on the show to talk about healthcare.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about Mr. Beast.
All right, let's
Zach
do it.
needs to tell us why we can't be excited about his new socialist
Why we can't
arc.
say Mr. Based.
Exactly.
So it started with this tweet. Mr. Beast says, just uploaded a video where we helped 2,000 amputees walk again. Many lived in America, and it feels so disgusting that in a country with this much wealth, a fucking YouTuber is their only option to get a prosthetic leg. We need to fix this. Mr. Beast. And then he dropped 100 people through a trapdoor.
Yeah,
Straight into
that
hell.
kid, he's wild because
Yo,
Didn't
that
he just
kid,
have
that
like
boy,
5 million scandals? Didn't he like just have a million fucking scandals? I don't care about any of them, but is this like a PR thing, do you think, to get people back on his side?
100%. Because what happened was he said
What
he cured a
happened?
bunch of people from blindness, right? And what he did was he went down to an eye place in Africa, filmed himself there, filmed a bunch of people who had like insane cataracts and had insane but treatable blindness, right? And then he just paid the cost that it would be for all of those people to get cataract surgeries, right? But he basically just went down there and cut a check and then didn't follow up on anything, didn't make sure that it was actually done. Like, he didn't actually cure
But
any
they
of these
filmed them
people.
in the videos, right?
So they filmed people who are at the clinic, yeah, for sure. But
Yeah.
those people didn't get cured of blindness, right? They got one treatment, and then he makes this YouTube video
Well,
about
I remember
it.
the video he was saying like 90 or like a significantly high percentage of blindness cases are actually pretty easily reversible or treatable with this one simple surgery, and that's what he was funding. And from what I could tell, it was like, yeah, for a lot of people, they're just too poor to afford this pretty basic eye surgery that does at least clear up a lot of the blindness that they're experiencing. So is that like what else should he have done?
Well, so the criticism from a lot of people is the fact that, one, he made a lot more money than he did spending it on that one treatment, and it didn't go to any of the sustained medication. Like, once you get that treatment, it's not like you're set for life. It's not like you're never going to have wounds to your eyes. It's not like you're never going to be vulnerable to seeing it again. And instead of committing to, like, the long-term healing of these people, he basically made the YouTube video, got the footage that he wanted, and booked out of there, and then made a shit ton of money off of it, which a lot of people just think is cringy. And then for you to like sit back and talk, I don't know. It just rubs a lot of people the wrong way, especially when you're worth $1.5 billion.
Yeah. The thing, I mean, no one is ever going to win like with that argument for most people, because most people are just going to see it as like a normal charity thing. And there might be some like details in it that like make Mr. Beast like not fully good or whatever, or selfish. And
Well, it's not a
like,
charity,
Mr.
though.
Beast
It's a
is like
self-enrichment scheme.
Well,
that's what the problem is.
Well, so are most charities. Like the majority of like nonprofit charity shit gets wasted on fucking shrimp cocktail mixers and giant staffs and like
Which
the
is
amount of
horseshit,
money
is
that
the
actually.
only point I'm
right,
making.
and the point I'm making is like most people aren't going to see any of those details or really care. Most people are just going to approach it as like a good charitable thing, and it's not that big of a deal when there's like it's not his responsibility to probably fix the healthcare system. So I think it's an L.
Yeah,
for people to go after Mr. Based.
The scandals I was referring to, because I agree with you, Griffin. That's something that we've talked about, the ethical, nature of that kind of charity or whatever you want to call it. But what most people care about is not that. what the scandals I was referring to was like, I guess
His
one
trans
of his close
friend?
Yeah, one of his close friends, I guess, got outed as like a predator or something like that. And then some people said he covered it up, and then other people said that he was like abusive to his staff and that he was exploiting people that he worked with and stuff like that. And it did turn into a pretty sizable scandal, not enough to like take him down. Obviously, he's still incredibly popular, but that's what most people are focused on. That's what I was kind of talking about. But either way, I mean, I agree that, like, yeah, most people don't really give a shit about the stuff that Zach was talking about, even though it's definitely valid to discuss. I don't know. I feel like we can't turn away if you really care about Medicare for all, though, you know, like you can't, just from a propaganda perspective, isn't it a good thing to have like one of the most popular, if not the most popular people speaking to a generation on your side?
I have mixed feelings about it, right? Because what I don't love and what I'm really sensitive to, especially because I spent so much of my life working in the, like, you know, business bro, non-for-profit thing. I spent like a year like so entrenched in this, guys, and I just know that none of it is actually about doing good for people. Like, I'll give you an example. I worked with this thing called Enactus, and we spent like a bunch of time going around Kansas City trying to fundraise to build like a well for a school in Nigeria, right? Like
to build one well.
Yeah, and then what we did was we all like went to this like big gala, and then we all like celebrated ourselves, and then put it on our college like shit, and you know what I mean? And it's all about like benefiting you. It's not about actually enriching society. And I totally get
what I like about this though is that he's calling on the government to get involved. Like, he's saying that we need to fix this as a country. He's not saying like more people need to do charity work. Like, he actually is calling on the system to take care of these people so that theoretically people like him don't have to or whatever.
I hope that he's sincere. Maybe I'm just being a curmudgeon. I just think that given all of the other behavior I've seen from this guy and the fact that he wants to be a billionaire and the fact that...
Is he not?
I mean, it's kind of disputed, right? Because he technically runs a nonprofit, and he's done the like Jeff Bezos thing, where he, like, in an effort to gain market share, he spent all of the money that he's generated.
To Zach's point, Mr. Beast is a robot. He is the closest that a synthetic human organism has come to like merge with a YouTube algorithm. Like, he is just ones and zeros. So like, yeah, like we're like, at the end of the day, we're getting mad at like a robot.
No, and I'm not like mad, right? Like, I'm not willing to say that this isn't like a good tweet or something.
Bro.
I'm just saying, like, I think that there's a lot about this guy that we should be examining more deeply.
I
agree
trust
with
him
that.
with my life. I trust him with my family.
The one thing I'll say in defense of Mr. Beast, and I don't even watch the guy's content. I agree that his eyes are soulless, and I agree that, you know, he's a manifestation of the algorithm and all that stuff. The one thing I'll say is, like, we do live in an era where it seems like everyone is like getting red pilled, even like Mark Zuckerberg, who used to hold the title of the most Android-esque human being ever.
Yes.
Exactly. And it seems like all these celebrities, all these influencers, they're all just getting swept up in this, like, you know, right-wing cultural bullshit. And I don't think that Mr. Beast is. It seems like he's talking about important stuff.
If anything, Gavin, to your point, the trans stuff should have happened during the Trump admin for Mr. Beast, and he would have gotten a lot more good pub. But he kind of did it backwards. He did all of his conservative stuff during the Biden admin.
I would say that, to me, it comes across as a business calculation because his audience is all hardcore Zoomers. And if you want to try and be I'm the most popular Zoomer guy and I hate trans people and I am not like woke on any issue, like, I think he sees the trends that are going with Zoomer content, and I don't trust him for shit. I think that he's like literally.
I don't trust him either.
I trust him implicitly. And here's a few pitches, Mr. Beast, for your next video. I shot 100 CEOs. I freed Luigi Mangione from jail with only $1. You know, like, just kind of stuff like that. I think those would be good views. I think the kids would love them. So, but we mentioned Zuckerberg. It's important to swag out for a second. Let's let boys be boys. We're really living in the Rogan universe on this episode, which is
Rogan's world. We're just living in it. To be honest, Mark Zuckerberg has been dressing like Justin Timberlake right after he signed a deal to have Timbaland produce his album post NSYNC.
He's dressing like the 8-year-old at the Five Nights at Freddy's party that's getting the most play. It's getting all the ladies. Yeah, I love this for him, and I'm choosing to believe that's an IDF dog tag.
I think it's actually his Lil Dicky Halloween costume.
Yeah, he is the most divorced person that's not divorced I've ever seen.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They wanted us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. We just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are
See, the thing about this guy is he's so painfully inarticulate. I want Jesse Eisenberg. Mark, hire Jesse Eisenberg to go be the PRU. Whenever you have to take an interview,
the thing is that is actually who he is. He's fucking putting on a performance for the idiots in Joe Rogan's audience.
Yeah. He's giving a sick-ass performance.
He's pretending to be a normal person. There's another part where he pretends to not remember what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is called, and he's like, it's whatever Elizabeth Warren's thing is, the CPF, whatever the hell. And it's like, bro, you're a fucking sociopath. You can talk like Jesse Eisenberg in the social.
He's an actor.
You are a fucking crazy person. He's pretending to be this, like, Theo Von, fucking Lex Fridman, I'm a dumbass. Like, that's what's popular right now. People want to be like, oh, I'm fucking stupid,
Oh, God. Yeah, dude, I just was looking at him and I was like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what is going on? How are you the same guy? But, yeah, you're right. It probably is just him trying to launder his reputation. I didn't bother to watch it because I was like, I don't give a fuck what Mark Zuckerberg has to say for 2.5 hours or however long that podcast is.
It's insulting that he thinks people are that stupid, but then again, it's kind of working. Like, a lot of conservatives now are posting clips of him being like, based Zuckerberg, and like Jimmy Dore was like, thank God he's finally telling the truth and all this kind of. I'm like, you buy this shit? You buy this fucking shit? You think he did a few years of like jujitsu or whatever, and now he's like your friend or something? It's crazy.
It's crazy because to me, he just seems like he doesn't know how to express himself at all. Like, I didn't even pick up as deeply as you guys went into it that he's trying to reflect like the common podcasting style so much as it just seems like he doesn't know how to be a person. He doesn't know how to be a human being. He doesn't know how to articulate himself. He pauses at weird times. I don't know. That was my only exposure to their interview, so I can't say I'm speaking from a vast wealth of what he was doing, but it just is so miserable listening to the guy. I just wanted to turn it off immediately. I don't give a fuck what he has to say. It's crazy that this is somehow a W for him.
So he did get into sort of this new broccoli haircut and sort of swag vibe over like the last 3 years, which did happen during the Biden administration. And it did make me think a little bit about does MMA and jiu-jitsu just in training and it just does it just fundamentally make you conservative now or whatever? But then, we get to these things and now Meta is making all these big announcements. They got all these big changes that they're going to do. They are officially not woke and not censoring, and they're basically, they Twitter files themselves. They didn't even need Matt Taibbi for this one. Zuckerberg came out and said, we were secretly woke and censoring everything. Comedy is now legal. We're doing community notes on Facebook. We're not censoring any words anymore. You can say the T slur. You can say any slur you want.
Come
and you
on
can
our
make
platform and say the hard R.
Yeah,
everyone's going to do it.
Please. No, he's begging people to do it. We've got a list here.
There's one more I put in the DMs too, if you want to pull it up, where he actually addresses the masculinity and martial arts conversation. But it's up to you guys.
We can look at that in a second. He says, examples of things. I've obtained internal meta docs with examples of posts now allowed under new hate speech rules. Examples include calling children trannies. Jews are flat out greedier than Christians. And immigrants are grubby, filthy pieces of shit. So comedy and the truth is now legal. Thanks to
This
Mark
is what the
Zuckerberg
CGA
here.
group chat looks like after Griffin has a few pints.
This is my average show topic suggestion. This is what when we're having a struggle session. The thing is like, okay, all that's happening, but then like the thing that like really was just like so cucked to me the most about it was what I saw this morning, that Meta has officially removed tampons from the men's bathrooms, which I'm like, is this just now like some sort of like Olympic torch like passing thing that happens when we're like not woke anymore? This is like, is part of the presidential transition now like tampons?
Apparently, man.
I'll take your stunned silence as yes.
What I'm sorry, I was taking a drink, but what I was interested in your guys' opinion too is, I feel like Elon Musk has to be getting a little bit jealous. Because as you guys are going to see in this clip too, Mark Zuckerberg is clearly kind of embracing the red pill. And as I mentioned, the three of us are obviously intelligent enough to see through this charade, this performance he's putting on for dumbasses and people like Joe Rogan's audience and people like the next president of the United States. I do think he's pulling it off better than Elon Musk does. Like, I do think to your average normie, they're going to take a look at this and it is going to be a more convincing performance. It's going to come off as someone who's like a more likable potential influencer in the tech realm.
Zuckerberg actually had to be a boss that like ran a successful company. Like Elon has just like left a wake of stupidness wherever he's gone.
Yeah,
and
it's
kind
just
of destroyed companies.
It's funny too because like 10 years ago, I have a pretty clear memory of like in 2012, Mark Zuckerberg was the butt of every joke. It was incredibly popular to call him an android. Like that was the number one meme about him. And it was actually sort of the reverse with Elon Musk. He was kind of looked at as this like Tony Stark genius billionaire type. I feel increasingly as we move into the next 4 years, the roles will reverse where Zuckerberg will actually be looked at as like the cool, tech genius guy. And Elon Musk is just going to keep descending into self-parody and insanity. But not to defend Zuckerberg. I think he's totally corny.
No, I think a big part of why he's had so much success with Joe Rogan is that literally anybody who goes into the Joe Rogan podcast and has like a blue belt or a purple belt in jiu-jitsu is going to have like 100 free bonus points. Elon Musk bought himself about 25 points when he smoked a blunt with him on air.
Yeah.
But that's not 100 points, okay?
No. He needs to get a yellow belt in karate.
4 points for being weird and cringy and ordering the pizza on the podcast, but I can't tell if after a few days Joe Rogan decided he didn't like that actually. Here you've got a guy coming in. You've got a guy coming in hot with a 100-point bonus, and all he has to do is just be a regular sycophantic, I blow smoke up your ass, but you respect me because I'm richer than you kind of quid pro quo that Joe likes to do with guys that he really wants on the podcast. And I think that's what really gives him the benefit of the doubt. That and his alpha male energy that we can play really quickly.
Sure. For me, it's just I think a lot of the corporate world is like pretty culturally neutered, and I just think like having, I grew up. I have 3 sisters, no brothers. I have 3 daughters, no sons. So I'm like surrounded by girls and women like my whole life, and it's like, so I think I don't know, there's just something, the kind of masculine energy I think is good, and obviously society has plenty of that, but I think corporate culture was really like trying to get away from it, and I do think that there's just something, it's like, I don't know, all these forms of energy are good, and I think having a culture that like celebrates the aggression a bit more has its own merits that are really positive, and that has been a kind of a positive experience for me. Just like having a thing that I can just like do with my guy friends and like and it's just like we're just like beat each other a bit.
So here's what's actually going on is that Mark Zuckerberg realizes he used to be a fucking pussy. He used to not have any masculine energy. Then he started getting into martial arts. Now he feels like he is a man, and he's projecting that onto not only society but corporate culture, right? He thinks that everyone, is a neutered, weak bitch like he was a few years ago or whatever.
Right.
And they all need to like undergo this Joe Rogan-esque, transformation into brohood or brodom or whatever. When in reality, it's actually a pretty like like, I don't want to say misandrous, but almost like just very watered down view of what masculinity actually is, kind of reducing it to aggression and stuff. It's not, yeah, I don't know.
It is also really true. I remember when I first got into kickboxing, you do get that dump of like, I'll fucking kick anybody's ass, especially if you're going to the gym every single day and you're actually fighting people, you know. And I don't know to what extent Zuck actually does a lot of jiu-jitsu, but I bet he rolls every single day. And so he probably does just look at motherfuckers on the street and think like, oh, I could strangle you. Like, oh, I could definitely, you know, I could grab your coat and fuck you up, you know. And if he's never been in that situation before, especially as you put it, like he was a weak bitch his whole life, he's probably drunk off of that. And yeah, it's very interesting. It's a lot of projection, and also it just reeks of insincerity. Like, it just does not seem like you can just spend 30 seconds watching this and be like, this isn't the guy that invented Facebook.
And insecurity. Like I said, if you're really this manly man who's like into martial arts and being a family guy or whatever, why are you like reducing masculinity to like taking tampons out of the men's restroom and being aggressive and like bringing back macho culture into corporate America? Like, bitch, that's not fucking manly.
Being scared and or upset about a tampon is the bitchiest fucking
That's what I'm saying.
soyest thing you can do. But you know, now let's look at the larger picture here, guys. You know, corporate culture has now there's not feminized anymore. Zuckerberg is based now. Censorship is gone. Elon is the president. Trump is the president. And there seems to be almost no resistance in any form, whether it's the media, the tech world, the social media platforms, or just even people in the street upset about it. And it really is a marked difference from 2016 in pretty much fundamentally every way, including the Democrats bending the fuck over with this Laken-Riley Act for immigration, which, you know, to do this, the TLDR for people, you know, it is the Democrats being like, we're going to be tough on immigration. Look, check us out. And it's basically a law that allows you to arrest immigrants if you suspect them of doing a crime, not just if they have done a crime, but if you even suspect them of being a criminal, you can pick them up and deport them to, you know, just, which then leads me to just wonder, like, what are we supposed to expect from this Democratic Party anymore, other than to just absolutely fold and work with the Republicans on basically everything?
I mean, it's tough to respond without a reminder that there are some serious soldiers still fighting it out in the Democratic Party. You know, we have our we have
like
our
Noah,
humble
the
holdouts.
13-year-old Dem operative Noah.
You know, and the new generation is bright. You know, I heard Chuck Schumer is endorsing a real renegade outsider for DNC chair.
That's
I
right.
think they're ready to shake things up. You know, John
to that
Fetterman.
point, to the DNC chair point, I saw Ben Wickler, who's running for DNC chair, be like, the first thing I'm going to do is check into all these consultants and all these fees, and we're going to clean house. And I was like, oh, well, you're not going to make it. You just lost. Because I saw like every shitty fucking tween TikTok Dem operative that spent the last year going, Biden is based, be like, actually, no, we must keep the consultants. We have to keep all these TikTok people that make the Democratic Party's brand absolutely toxic. Yeah, it doesn't seem like much evolution is going to be changing other than
22 years.
Trump.
That 13-year-old's going to be 35, Griffin, and then we're going to start to really move and shake. That's what the Democrats are going to promise you. He'll be president then, and you know what? You don't rush things. Be patient. You know, patience is a virtue. You're not waiting for Godot. You're waiting for that kid's 35th birthday.
Yeah. But, you know, I guess, you know, I'm seeing some people say, we gotta, you know, it's like Trump is bad. We got to work with these liberals. We got to work with these other liberal, these new David Pakman types that are coming on the scene. And my question is, to what? To do Laken-Riley? Like, I'm not really sure where that path leads at this point. So yeah, I mean, fires in LA. Fires all over.
I feel like I'm at the point with the Democratic Party where, like, I'm just really hoping some sort of actual leader emerges from the fray. Someone like a Bernie Sanders, or even, frankly, someone like a Donald Trump, but just on the left-wing side. You know, that's what the party needs, because the reality is most people need a fucking leader right? They
Yeah.
need someone to follow, to set the tone. And we did kind of have that under Bernie Sanders. Even people like Bill de Blasio and like all these, centrist establishment Democrats were basically ripping him off, and he was setting the tone. We don't have that right now, and there's a void of leadership that's not being filled by fucking anyone. There's not even an establishment leader. It's not like people listen to Kamala Harris. It's not like people listen to Joe Biden. There is no leader in the Democratic Party whatsoever. No one listens to fucking Hakeem Jeffries. No one is setting the tone at all. But if there is like some really compelling figure that emerges who decides to run for the presidency or something, I feel like people would respond to that, because in a moment like this, people do want that leadership. People do want someone to follow, to show them the way. And I just hope it's not, some cringy Pete Buttigieg type. I hope that it is someone that's a little bit more populist, that understands the moment we're in and how to actually counter MAGA.
Well, speaking of the moment we're in, this is, I think, a final beautiful cap to that, Gavin. Two BFFs expressing their masculinity, right? Just broing out together. We've got Trump and Obama here talking at Jimmy Carter's funeral, chatting. What's your guys' take on what they're saying here? I think maybe Trump's saying like, Nosferatu is a bad guy, but he was hot. Nicholas Hoult couldn't please her. Couldn't please the woman, Lily Depp.
I went to this
"I
Georgia McDonald's. Not quite as good as the DC McDonald's. I know you know what I'm talking about. I know you know. The Coca-Cola down here is pretty good, but the Diet Coca-Cola, it leaves a little bit to be desired. Gotta get it from the drive-through by the White House. Anyways.
My daughters told me to boycott McDonald's for Palestine. I said, "Fuck you! I'm loving it." These are two friends. These are two friends that love each other, and if we can channel that love and that friendship and find a friend like this, I think we'll see it through.
Yep. Circle Jerk America, episode 69.
Episode 69. There you go.